Morning, Nigel. It was always going to be a special night, wasn't it, on Friday? Stags returned to League One for the first time in over 2 decades, made even more so by the performance and result. For you and the players, what was so special about that night?
Getting the 3 points on the board, certainly, and seeing everybody and the supporters enjoying the evening and the performance, I think. And ultimately, it was, as you say, always going to be special, being back in League One. But to get I think if we'd have lost 2-1, it still would have been a special night for everybody. But I think the performance and the result just capped it off.
What led you to the win, ultimately?
Not the first 20 minutes, the way we set out and the way we started the game. And and got the 2 goals early on. Somebody said to me over the weekend, I thought you were going to win the game in the first 20 minutes. And I said, well, we did. Ultimately, that's where you get the 2 goals. And I think then to give the back 4 and everybody a chance to defend a 2-0 lead for 70 minutes, we'll take that any day.
Were you as encouraged defensively?
Yeah, I thought once they changed, which I thought was a brave decision by Darryl after 25-30 minutes, something like that, then they probably took the initiative then for that little spell. I thought before and after half time, but I thought in the last 20 minutes I thought we were okay, and dealt with everything pretty well. They had some skirmishes. They're going to have chances. Barnsley, they're going to be up there as well. We all watched a few games on Saturday in League One, and Barnsley were the best team. We've just been talking that we saw. From the staff that went out to games. So they're going to be up there. So they're going to have situations, chances, Cosgrove and Waters up front are going to cause problems. But there wasn't too much clear cut. And as the game wore on, in the last 15 minutes, I thought we should have gone and got the third with better decisions and better finishing. We'd have got a third goal.
It was a most entertaining encounter to kick off the League One season as well.
Yeah, it was very important as well. It was a cracking game, and I think Barnsley said that as well. It was a good game. It could have finished 3-3, 4-4. When we saw some of the games that we witnessed over the weekend, I think there was more action in the first 15 minutes in our game than there was in 90 minutes in some of the others. So it's nice to set our stall out early on as well and say, well, if we can, and we won't always be able to do it. Opposition will stop us. We might not be quite as good. Conditions might be a bit different. But, that's how we want to approach games if we can.
You're in Carabao Cup action tomorrow night at Bolton Wanderers. Let's speak about your campaign in the Carabao Cup last season where you did so well. Grimsby, Sheffield Wednesday, Peterborough United, all pushed aside. Did it help you ultimately in your what was successful league campaign, that Carabao Cup run? I
think so. I think it built momentum from early on in the season. And it's difficult when you play the first round in second match of the season. But I thought our performance against Grimsby that day was really outstanding. And it helped with the confidence and everything. As I build that momentum with the league programme. If we can, we'd like a little run again. A little bit more difficult to draw this time round. But if we can have a run, I think you can always run at least one cup run in conjunction with good league form.
How do you approach it tomorrow?
Well, we have a count up this morning and see a couple of knocks from Friday night, and we certainly won't be risking anybody. So there will be a few changes, but not too many. Obviously, with the 6 or 7 lads that are out, prohibits us somewhat. But we'll utilise the squad because it really shouldn't weaken it too much. The team that was picked on Friday, we could have started anyone that was on the bench as well. That's how strong the squad is. So there were 1 or 2 of those that didn't feature will get a game.
Line-up wise, then, do you have one eye on the Burton game back in the league at the One Call Stadium on Saturday?
Yes, we have to. As much as we'd like to get a result at Bolton, then the league campaign will always take priority. So we'll not risk anybody unnecessarily. What are Bolton's
strengths?
Well, I think they've been building similar to us, but in League One, they've been building a team and so close to promotion. Last season, losing at Wembley, and we know how that feels. So I think, rightly so, I think they're one of the favourites for this season. Great start at Orient on Saturday, and I think the manager Ian Evatt said, he would make changes as well. Everybody's a bit concerned. As I say, it's great playing the game early on, the first round, but you're just worried when it's the first league game. A lot of effort's gone in. especially with us, we don't want any more injuries.
Could you give us an update on the injured players?
They're all doing pretty much as expected. Bailey Cargill's going to be back on the grass hopefully towards the end of this week, not training, so we think he'll be about another 3 weeks, something like that. Fraser Blake-Tracy, we're not sure about with his hamstring. He'll get scanned tonight. And the others, the long-termers, George Maris, Alfie and Oates, are all coming along as expected.
And finally from me, a few weeks until the transfer window shuts. Any movement?
No, not at the moment. We've got our eye on things. It's mainly if we lose one or two, then we've got to be ready to replace them. I think we're pretty tight numbers-wise with the squad restrictions this season. So I think there'd have to be a bit of movement out or under 21s, which obviously don't count.
Thank you. John?
Obviously, with our deadlines as usual, need a quick word looking towards the weekend. The computer throws at these fixtures, doesn't it? First home game back in, and it's Burton.
I thought we'd actually get them first game. Honestly, when we were on holiday, I remember saying the way it works. But we've got the first home game. I think it's fair to say a very different proposition, the club now, than it has been for 30 years under Ben Robinson.
And obviously, the home fans, it's going to be sell-out pretty much every game at the One Call this season. They're going to be very, very important to keep you in the division, aren't they?
It's going to be our home form as much as we can get something on the road like a Friday night. Home form always is the key factor to how you do in the league, to staying in the division, to surviving, whatever, to succeeding. We've got from day one, which is Burton Saturday. We've got to make it with the atmosphere and everything. We have got to make it a place that opposition don't want to come.
What does success look like for you this season? What's your kind of minimum?
Don't know. Well, minimum staying in the league. And from there, that can be anything from 5th bottom to 7th, 8th from top or whatever. A cup run would be nice, like we mentioned in one of the major cups. But I think it's funny because the last 3 seasons we've only had one aim, to get out of the division. And now it's a little bit more vague, I think, as to what success would look like. A little bit more scope in that, I think.
Seems to still be a lot of speculation over the future of Davies Keeler-Dunn.
Yep.
People saying that he's still going to be gone before the end of the transfer window. Are you aware of anything? Or?
Yeah, he may. Well, we've had a bit of interest in him, but until somebody meets a valuation that we think is fair, then he won't be going anywhere.
And straight away after the league game, you've got the start of the Bristol Street Motors competition as well. How are you treating that this year?
The same as always. It'll be a good opportunity for people to get some games and some game time that haven't featured in the first 3 games, or certainly 2 league games. We've moved it forward, so we didn't want one in the international, what could be an international break for us. So it's an ideal time, I think, to get people back on the pitch if we can. Might be a bit too early for Bailey, I'm not sure, and certainly the long-termers. But anybody, George Williams and Callum McDonald, people like that, to get them a game would be ideal.
Great stuff, lovely.